everyone, and welcome to Uddering Engineers. We're back with another episode, and this is a podcast made by engineers for engineers and provided to you by the Engineering Student Society. I'm your co-host again, Shivek, and my co-host, Eric, and I'll let him introduce our guest for today.
Yes, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Ewan May. We've been friends since our second year, and we are in our fifth now, so it's been a long time. He is the current president of the University of Calgary's Engineering Student Society, so he's our boss. We can't say anything bad about him. And from what I see, he got a haircut specifically to be on this, so that's really, really nice. Welcome, Ewan.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And I got the haircut specifically for WEC, actually. I didn't know this was going to be on video.
It was on video last time we tried.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot.
It was
happy to be here.
It was a long time ago where we tried it last time. But for our listeners, just so we're a little bit clear, what we're going to be talking about today is a realization that all of us have come to. We're all at the end of our degrees, and now we have a big question mark that comes up every other minute when people ask us what we're going to do with our lives. So we're trying to figure out what we do next, what we're going to do next. And this discussion is going to be sort of about our thought processes and our experiences of sort of what we're going to be tailoring our futures to be, or what we're trying to accomplish as we move past our degrees.
Yeah, so what can you do with your degree? I guess just as context, I am in electrical engineering with a biomedical specialization. Yeah, and you guys want to say what you're doing?
Sure, yeah. I'm in electrical engineering. I have a specialization in energy and environment, but that won't be sticking around too long.
And I'm in mechanical engineering with a specialization in biomed as well.
So, Shivek, what is your plan?
Essentially, so mine's a bit of a story, and the story is I got into engineering in the first place because I wanted to do literal rocket science. I wanted to do astrophysics and aerospace, and due to some personal reasons, I ended up deciding to come to UFC, and the closest I could get to aerospace engineering was mechanical engineering. So I decided to go into mech, and then again, due to some personal reasons and just because of the passion that comes from innovation, I went towards biomed because I find that biomed's one of those industries, as well as like environmental. They're one of those industries that like you always have to be at the forefront of innovation because there's always new problems, and rather than just focusing on optimization. So I wanted to do that. Now, at the end of the degree, I've gone through all the battles of biomed and mech, and now I'm like, okay, I got to go back into that aerospace industry and figure out what those next steps are. And frankly speaking, Calgary's not the best for that. So right now I'm looking at industry work to pivot my way out of Alberta so I can work my way into that aerospace industry. I have high hopes of like working for SpaceX and going to MIT to do some really cool stuff, but I have to work my way there. So yeah, working on finding industry work and research work that'll get me there slowly.
So, from a scale from 1 to 10, how salty are you that UFC introduced an aerospace minor just as you were about to graduate?
I have been crying since I heard the news. Okay, sorry. Mini vent to anybody listening. I'm sorry, it's just gonna have to hear this. Now biomed is a major and aerospace is a minor, and there's this option to take a dual degree with business. If I was to do my degree again, I would have taken a biomed major with a dual degree in business with a minor in aerospace, and it would have been like the perfect thing of what I want to do in the future. But now I got to do that myself, so it's fine.
It's kind of like we got here 5 years too early. So now they're rolling out these awesome new majors and minors, and we're looking back like, would have been nice, would have been great.
Yeah. But I'm gonna say something. Sorry, Eric. One thing I was advised though, which is a good sort of strategy, is now that these are undergrad options, take a master's and teach the students those courses or help them in those courses, and you like inherently learn that stuff anyways. So it does help you in your experience in one way or another if you want to get to it.
So you're pretty set now on do a master's, go do more learning even in the aerospace industry. I have a question though. How has your kind of path forward changed as you were in uni? You got in with high hopes that you're going to send the next rocket to Mars. In the middle, did you ever stray from that, or did you, always have that end goal and never really wavered from it?
It's a good question. The goal was always, and this sounds very ambitious, but the goal was always to start my own space agency or like a rocket company. Like I had that since I was a kid, and then people were like, "That's stupid." And then now SpaceX is a thing, and people are like, "Oh no, that's not that dumb anymore." So the stray was biomed, but at the same time, I realized that I want to actually get to the intersection of biomed and aerospace, because right now the industry seems very, very niche. But coming to 10 20 years from now, when colonization becomes more practical, and we're very close to that already, when the International Space Station retires and there's new space stations coming up, when there's new spacesuits and space travels becomes a more common thing, there's going to be a requirement to come up with more materials, organisms, like food, stability methodologies, systems to preserve life that have to be more efficient, right? So all of these things are going to come up, and they're all part of that mechanical biomed intersection. So I think there's still a lot of promise there, and I never think it went away. Actually, I think I probably picked up more skills than I went in thinking I'd pick up.
Nice. It's good to hear that you coming out with your dream intact of what you want to do. You did mention you wanted to kind of start your own space agency and start your own stuff. And I know you are big into innovation entrepreneurship stuff. So what was your goal coming in, and what is it now, and how has it changed?
I think it really goes back to when I was, 14 maybe, and I was camping and somebody asked me what I wanted to do when I grow up. And I think at that point I wanted to be a doctor or something. Somebody out there had prescribed for me. But what I said, though, was I wanted to leave the world a better place than when I came into it. And that's a super vague goal, but it's one that can really be applied to many situations. And I think it's an important one, especially for engineers, that you're building something that, has the potential to improve the quality of life for somebody, or just provide good for the world in its pure sense. So when I got here, I didn't know exactly how that would happen. Largely I still don't. But I think over the time here, it's become very apparent that no path is going to be perfect, and there's always going to be a trade-off, right? You go and work for a company after you graduate, you're trading off potentially getting the golden handcuffs and not pursuing what you want after, with stability and experience and stuff. The other option is, going to start your own thing, which you're trading off the stability and the experience with potentially, larger payout. But I'm not really like money driven, financially driven. I'm more mission driven. I care about what I do. I care about leaving the world a better place. So the answer to your question is a difficult one. Is the dream still intact? I would say yes. I think you and I had a discussion at some point where we were talking about shortcuts to success, quote unquote, where for years, I think you and I both, but I'll speak for myself, was always in the mindset of like, okay, there's definitely a way to find a shortcut, find a way to do this quicker, whether it be like a startup or this, or like quicker education, or like 10 experiences in a year rather than one. And then after years of education, the learning is there are no shortcuts. You know what you need to do, and it just takes time to get there. And that might be 5 or 10 years, depending on what you want to accomplish. But you just have to do it one step at a time and make sure that goal at the end of the day is still clear. Totally. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. You start to see as you go through your degree and start doing longer projects that you really realize things don't happen in months. They might happen in years, decades even, right? From Elon Musk starting his company in 2002, SpaceX, to now, 18 years for him to get to this point. There's a huge amount of growth and work, just grinding, that has to happen for you to get to that point. So there's really no shortcuts. It's just a matter of what do you do day to day that can potentially get you to where you want to be.
Right. Those incremental goals. Break down a big goal into small steps and then work towards it. Yeah.
Exactly. And also not being so rigid on your vision, I think, because along the way you often get introduced to new ideas, new people, new opportunities that you never thought. And if you just only pursue that one vision unilaterally, you might actually come to it at a later time than if you just sort of went with what you're given. So yeah, but what to do after?
What's the plan?
That's been what I've been asking myself for a year and a half now, right? Because you have your parents saying, "Oh, just get a job and build up your financial stability, and then maybe one day you can pursue that dream you have." And then I had people at my company, like I talked to all the founders, just to see what they thought about it, and they all had different opinions, which is totally understandable. Friends have different opinions. People are different, so I think for me personally, I wouldn't be doing my best if I was in a job I didn't love, working for a company I didn't believe in, right? And I want to get the most out of my life, essentially. So I think more and more that I'm inclined to pursue something on my own, just because, I don't know, maybe I'm selfish, but I feel very strongly for my ideas, and I'm very motivated to achieve them. So doing what somebody else wants me to do is probably not the best choice for me.
Yeah, but it's so hard, especially if you don't have, I guess, a very clear path of how to get to where you want to go. It's good to have these dreams, and it's nice, I guess, on Shafek's end, because he knows what career path he wants to take, taking a master's, maybe working in that industry, but even then the steps in between are kind of iffy. And I guess if you want to pursue your ideals, it's what are the intermediate steps? How do you gain the capital you need? How do you gain that security you need in it? Or, like you said, are you going to toss that out the window? I feel the same way. I feel that I am more confused about where I want to go now than I was when I got into Eng.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The nice thing, though, I would say, though, as engineers and over our education and the experiences we've gotten, is that now we have this like belt of tools that we can use, or like this case of tools that we can use, and we know that we have so many different options or like directions we can take these skills to. And I think that makes us pretty adaptive, right, to the opportunities that Ewan was speaking to. Take up those opportunities that come up, and we have all those tools to be like, okay, you know what, I can do this for a little bit, and learn a bunch of stuff and make these tools even better, and then switch to this next thing when I want to, when it's the right time. So
Are you willing to sell out? Are you willing to sell out for those small periods of time to gain skills?
I've decided to not sell out till I'm almost out of my 20s, is what I've decided. I'm gonna paddle and hit as many things as I can to try to get to where I want to in the 20s, and then when my family's like, you know what, it's time to like move on, and I know that's gonna happen. That's when I'm gonna be like, okay, you know what, I think you're right. I'll sell my soul a little bit right now.
Shebek, it's time to grow up.
Yeah.
No, I feel the same way. Your parents will always feel a certain way. They obviously just want the best for you, but I want the best for me too. So how can we both be right at the same time and also both be wrong to each other? I think that if I don't pursue these aspirations that I have out of school, I will forever regret it when I become older and no longer capable of, I guess, just pursuing high risk, high reward sort of activities, because you have a house, you have kids, maybe you have all these things, you have a car to pay off, all these things that make it just more and more difficult to, I guess, roll with the punches of entrepreneurship. So as much as I don't feel perfectly equipped to pursue it, I think especially through school and extracurriculars, you start to learn that you can learn on the job pretty quick, and that you can just figure it out while you're there. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be trained for years in it to actually succeed, is what I think. It's what I think is gonna happen.
I'm just gonna add something here. When I was in junior high in Ontario, I went to this like school, and my favorite teacher, I still remember him, Mr. Lawrence. I loved him because he used to take naps between classes, and he called it his power nap. And it was like 7 minutes, and I remember it was brilliant. But this man, he like motivated me to be an entrepreneur. But he said there's two things you should remember. One is change is constant, and two, successful people take risks. So since then, it's just been like drilled in my head, that your things are always going to change, and the thing that's going to make you successful in those changes is you got to take risks. I think COVID, for example, is a big example of that, right? Whether it be at a company level or personal level, all the companies taking the risks to like come online or try new things, or people trying their own businesses and starting Etsy pages or Insta pages or whatever, they have gotten a level of success and sustainability just by trying these new things that are coming their way. So
Yeah, truthfully, like you can't succeed unless you try. That's just the fundamental thing. And you especially can't succeed if you give up, right? Trying is one thing to set out on the journey, but if you give up, then you absolutely know you're going to fail.
I mean, as a counter argument though, not about the giving up thing. Don't give up, but there's nothing wrong too with going, I guess maybe the opposite route of what you were saying, find that stable sellout job to start. And then once you are more financially secure, once you are in a good spot that you can actually step away from that, then you could still pursue your dreams. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting out with something more secure. And then once you are in that space where you feel you can branch out, I don't think it's too late. You have many stories of people in their 40s and 50s, even later, trying something brand new because that was their passion all along, and it worked out for them as well. It's just they might have a more specialized and larger toolbox because of their experiences. So it's so tough to say what is the right path.
I mean, I think we should make it even clear for our listeners, exactly to your point, Eric. We're not saying we know what the right path is. We're at that fork in the road where we're trying to figure it out ourselves. So I don't think we have any right to tell people, but I guess we're speaking to our experiences and our personalities, right? At the end of the day, like this is our thought process, and we might be more or less ambitious or more or less entrepreneurial than other people in some cases. I again, speaking for myself and some of what Ewan said.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about this if we knew what we were doing.
Yeah, disclaimer, this is all speculative.
And this is not this is our stories. This is not how you should approach this. It's maybe to help you based on our own stories, but don't take this as like hard advice.
Exactly. I think if anything, you should take this time to think about, what it is that you really enjoy and actually consider your different paths as opposed to taking our word as just dogma. Because I think what you're saying, Eric, that there's nothing wrong with that is perfectly accurate. I think for the majority of people, they get out of school and they go work a job and, they're happy, right? They're happy to do that. I just think for me, I would be betraying myself because I know that that's not something that I'm interested in.
No, for sure.
At least immediately.
Depends on your values, right? You want to really dive into that entrepreneurship, your own aspirations in life. Somebody else might want to say, I want to get something stable. I want to start a family. I want to get a house. I want to live a very comfortable life for the rest of my life. And that is fine. And I am leaning towards that more and more, but maybe that's because I'm older.
Totally fair. That is, yeah, totally fair. Different points in life, I'm going to have different perspectives for sure. Yeah, I think you raise a very valid point, of course. And it's important to recognize that no company is just the founder, right? You need people to work in the companies and keep them going and really like a company, right? That is a group of people. So it's not just about me. I'm going to need, many people to run a business essentially. So I think what you're saying makes sense. If you are considering it and really want to do it, I think that it's equally important to try.
For sure.
I would say one thing we're all getting at from our discussion so far is we don't necessarily need to know what the next step is after the degree, but what we need to know is take the time in our degree to understand what our priorities are, what things are valuable to us, right? I think we've taken the years to get to know what those are a little bit better and be a little bit more intimate with them. And then remembering towards the end of your degree that opportunities always come, they don't end. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. It's like, oh, it's the end of the world. What do I do next? I am done. It's all over. And if you think about it, frankly speaking, for people like me who've come right out of like high school, right into university, we've been in school for basically our whole lives, right? Stepping out of that, it's kind of scary if you think about it. So yeah, remind yourself that there's still opportunities if you do a job right after this. It's fine. Even if you don't do anything after your degree, there's things are going to come up. There's always something to do at the end of the day.
I actually disagree with not like when you say don't do anything. I would say regardless of whether or not you have a vision, do something, because by doing those things, opportunities arise. You can't just sit on your hands if you don't have a vision of what you're going to do. I guess it goes against something I said before, but even if you do something that you might not want to at the moment, you might find an opportunity within that space,
right,
to expand to something you are passionate about. And you can always change your mind. Not everybody is like these two who had this vision coming in and stuck with this vision coming out. I had a vision coming in that I wanted to work biotech. I wanted to make these giant brain controlled prosthetics. And then throughout my university career, I got really into working with diversity and inclusivity initiatives, and that really has become one of my big passions as well. And things like technological stewardship and inclusive design are things that I've really become interested in. So maybe my path forward now isn't biotech as it was at the beginning, but more along the lines of starting something on my own or joining something that deals with inclusivity in Eng, deals with inclusivity in design, deals with that aspect of making the world a better place, rather than something highly technical, but something more about the softer skills side of Eng, which is perfectly valid as well.
100%.
Totally. I think there's a way to look at it, and actually Will Smith summed it up very well when he was talking about, his career path. People take jobs and positions that aren't potentially what they would love to do, but they see the potential from there, and they see the potential for growth. And what he said was that he wasn't focused on building a wall. He was just focused on laying a brick down perfectly. And I think that's important to remember, as opposed to, the greater picture. Just try and do what you're doing to the best of your capability, because that just opens up more doors, regardless of what it is, right? I think it doesn't matter if you really have that vision. I don't think it matters if you have to take a little sidestep here and there. But I think it does matter that whatever you're doing, you really pour yourself into it, and you really try to apply yourself as best as possible, because that will showcase to everybody around you and give them the idea that you're somebody reliable, that they want to work with you, that you're consistent, you're a high performer, all these things. And so putting yourself in that position where you can be a high performer is important, I think.
Every time we talk about this, I just get more and more confused about what I want to do.
Same.
For me, the answer is there is no perfect choice, as long as you're pursuing something that you want to do.
Yeah, and it's scary, but you just got to do it, right?
I do want to apologize to our listeners. We've, 20, 25 minutes of discussion, and our conclusion is we don't know.
No, but isn't that just it? You can't get more specific than do what you want to do, because there are so many different applications of that. Like, Eric, if you are interested in diversity and inclusivity, and that's what you want to do, who am I to say that's wrong, right? Who am I to say
you would be a jerk if you said that?
Is there a difference? Is there a difference between do what you want to do and do what you can do, though? Because I think that's what comes up. Like that's the debate in a lot of cases, right?
But I think if the goal is for you to get the most out of your time working wherever, then they kind of fall hand in hand, right? Mm-hmm. Doing something, if you're not interested in it, even if you're good at it, you probably won't perform as good as something that you're really passionate about, right? Because I guess depending on the person, but for me, like very mission driven, if I'm not connected with the project or the idea, I find it very difficult to keep trudging forward through all just the day-to-day kind of nonsense that comes with any sort of job, right? It's not always sunshine and roses, even if you're working on, Falcon 9 rocket engines,
Yeah,
there's
it's
still
true.
there's still you still got to cross your T's and dot your I's.
I mean,
So
I
I
mean,
think, yeah.
I mean, to that note, for anybody who is interested in aerospace, I mean, the SN9 was trying to launch like twice now, 3 times now, and all of the launches got canceled. So yeah, dramatic endings to those projects right now.
All right. So we're running out of time for this episode, but I guess made some really good points. Draw what conclusions you can from this. And as always, if you want to know more about our own personal stories, please, please, please reach out to us, because we would love to hear from you, love to hear your feedback. But before we head out, I want to give Ewan an opportunity to do a shameless plug to one thing of anything he wants to shout out right now.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Anything in the world, hey?
ESS won't take offense. Just saying.
Can it be an idea, or is it like something that is in my life?
Doesn't matter, man.
I think I would give a shout out to all the people who I guess are pursuing something that means a lot to them in spite of what other people might have told them not to do.
That's
Because
awesome.
that can be a very difficult thing to do.
People usually just shout out their Instagrams, but that's so much better.
My Instagram has been inactive for a few years now, so that wouldn't do me any good.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you to all of our listeners for listening into this episode. This has been an episode with Ewan May with Uddering Engineers, a podcast made by engineers for engineers, where basically 3 friends got together and had a discussion about what to do with their lives. So if you have any questions, concerns, or would like to listen to more episodes, you can find us on wherever you found us here: YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on IG at Uddering Engineers. Thank you.
Bye.